Hi, motherfuckers. It's the hater. It's Wednesday night, which means, of course, as all of you cucks know, it's time for your weekly AEW review. Pin this bitch. All right, you understand what I'm saying? Now, earlier today, I made a video that I had not uploaded yet about the recent mass releases of WWE. However, it's your lucky day, motherfucks. I deleted that video and I'm going to re-record it after this one. It will be part of this same video. So, if this video seems a little longer than usual, which it probably won't because my videos are a little long typically, and recently not much has been happening in wrestling, so the reviews are shorter and shorter. So this video is going to start off with the AEW review for tonight, and then I'm going to talk about the mass WWE releases from scratch. When I first made my video about the WWE releases, I didn't really mention all of them because as I made the video, more releases happened anyways. So here we are. Let's get started and get it done, motherfuckers. All right, let's start. First of all, AEW opens up, boring as usual, you know what I'm saying? We hear these jabros just talking and talking and talking. And then segment one, the first part of the show, starts with Colt Cabana versus Lance Archer. Now, before the match starts, they show a little vignette for both guys, right? Jake the Snake is talking about Lance Archer, who I believe has yet to say one word. Whatever. I actually support that idea because, like, if you have Jake the Snake Roberts, just let him talk, you know what I mean? Lance Archer, I don't know. I don't know about him yet, motherfucks. But they showed us a vignette about Colt Cabana as well, and Colt Cabana starts talking about how he's also dominated Japan and China and India and every other place he's been at. And he says, he's like, I'm a little unorthodox. He's like, I'm charismatic. Pause right there, motherfucks. First of all, this guy is not charismatic. He is a cuck, all right? Let's get it straight here. All right, there's charisma. Like, man, I like this guy. I want to be like this guy. I enjoy watching this person. I'm curious what they're going to say or do next, right? He does not have any of those traditional forms of wrestling charisma. It's kind of like Montez Ford, right? And definitely also Angelo Dawkins, right? I keep hearing, like, that bald guy who was in the WrestleMania pre-show, he was like, is there anyone more charismatic than the Street Profits? And I'm like, yeah, literally, like, every person on the roster is more charismatic than Angelo Dawkins, first of all. So there's that, number one. Two, Montez Ford, he's a likable guy. You know what I mean? Like I've said before, my girlfriend and I have watched wrestling a few times when she's been here on Monday nights, and she's seen the Street Profits, and she likes the Street Profits, right? I can't really explain why, but she's like, oh, they're fun, they're funny, right? So they are funny. Like, I can understand why the Street Profits have appeal for casual fans and people that don't care about wrestling. However, to conflate that with charisma on the part of fucking Montez Ford is ridiculous. This guy's not charismatic. He's just a goof. He just comes out there, starts yelling and acting like an asshole, and then, like, people are like, oh, that's great, because we've been, like, deprived of real charisma for so long that people like him seem charismatic. Like, take someone like Enzo Amore, right? Enzo Amore was charismatic. Like, you can just tell this guy was charismatic. But he, too, got a boost to his charisma factor because we haven't seen much of that in a long time. Even though Enzo Amore came out and basically said the same thing again and again and again. He saved himself a little bit, just a little bit, in terms of, like, the little vignettes and the little interviews that he would do sometimes. But his promos before, like, matches weren't that, I mean, they were good, but they weren't, like, examples of great charisma or anything of that nature, you know? So I have a big problem with people like Colt Cabana just label themselves as charismatic, you know? And then if you really think about what's happening here, we have two of the most prolific velocity jobbers in the history of velocity. Like, we have Lance Archer, who was in one WWE video game. His entire career lasted 1 year, like one video game, until they fired his ass. He may have been there for a couple of years, right? And he may have just not made the cut for the next video game because people are like, nobody wants to play as this guy. We're not even going to put him in the game anymore, right? So there's that. And then Scotty Goldman from WWE, who was there for like 3 weeks, didn't even make it to one video game. These are two of the most prolific failures in the history of WWE, and here they're presented as both having legitimate chances at winning this mid-card jobber belt in a jobber company. Needless to say, the match starts. Colt Cabana embarrasses himself again and again and again. He's just a fat guy who, like, is best known for, like, being friends with CM Punk and then suing CM Punk. You know what I'm saying? The match ends with Colt Cabana's fat ass climbing up to the top turnbuckle. You know, as Scott Steiner said once, you know, you have no chance of winning because you got some fat asses, all right? So he climbs up, and he's intercepted by good old Lance Archer, who hits the blackout on him. That was kind of impressive because he's a big, big dude. So, like, he picked him up, even though of his vast size, and he flipped him into the blackout and pinned him. Now, this was predictable, and no one really gave a shit. So I give this segment a nice 2 out of 10, motherfuckers. 2 out of 10. It would have been a 3 out of 10 if it weren't for the fact that Colt Cabana had to preface this match by saying he's charismatic. We're not stupid, motherfuckers. You can't just go out there and claim yourself as charismatic and then be considered charismatic. It reminds me of The Bachelor. You know, when you watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette in this case, right? You see all these dudes, they're a bunch of pussies, a bunch of beta males that are okay with the girl that they supposedly like, fucking other dudes on the TV show and hanging out with them and making out with them and all this other shit. They're like, it's 20 alpha males in this house. No, none of you are alpha males. You're all a bunch of beta pussies, man. Oh, please like me. I'm going to cry if you don't. Like, what the fuck happened to the world? So that's kind of the same shit that happened here, you know? I'm not convinced when someone says I'm an alpha male or when someone says I'm charismatic. I need to see it, motherfuckers. And I didn't see any of that from Colt Cabana. Now, on to the next bitch. Britt Baker comes out and she faces some broad. I forget her name, but it was something like Golden or something. Something like that, like Candace Golden or something. It was some girl, you know, she actually like she looked interesting enough, you know, like she was, I don't remember very well to be honest, because like I watched it, but it's been like 2 hours now. But I thought she was cute, so maybe you should give her a push, you know. Britt Baker, she was looking all right too this week, so I gotta give props to her for, you know, like just not looking like a piece of shit completely, you know. She needs to like get a nose job in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there, you know, to each his own, you know. She's with Adam Cole, he's a handsome guy, so let's be real, she's doing good for herself. Now, this is when the show starts getting really dumb up in this bitch, right? They start showing vignettes of fucking like Taz, Ariel Helwani, a bunch of like Big John McCarthy was there, talking about who's going to win the main event between Moxley and Jake Hager. Again, I cannot distance myself enough from the fact that this match is a mid-card WWE match. I'm pretty sure this match has happened in WWE, and Dean Ambrose beat Jack Swagger in about 2 minutes, right? Because Jack Swagger was a jobber. So let's keep that in control. Pin this, right? Also, it's ridiculous that they're presenting it as if it's some sort of like real fight. You know what I mean? Like they're like Taz is doing like analysis on the triangle choke, and I'm like, dude, it's very simple. It's his finishing move. You do it, the guy passes out, right? It is what it is. I didn't enjoy that at all. Then we had a vignette called the Bubbly Bunch, where Jericho and the Inner Circle do like a Brady Bunch type of thing, where they're like, you know, in different little squares, and it's basically them just having like a video chat. My friends and I had a video chat like last week or something, because some of my friends have moved out like recently, like right before the coronavirus. One of my friends moved to a different state, and then my other friend, who was like one of my best friends in the world, he moved to California like after grad school. So, or no, he did grad school there. He moved there after college, so he's been there for like a fucking minute and a half. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's how that goes, right? Like it's we don't really see each other as much, and me and my friends that are still here, we don't see each other as much either recently because of the coronavirus. So we had a nice little video chat, and this was similar to that, right? Like I actually like this segment because it was something that is relevant right now. People are doing this. People are chatting, and while they're doing their own thing, it was endearing, if you will. I kind of enjoyed it. Now, it wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it was endearing, and there were a few little like gags in there, like Jericho spills orange juice, and then in the next like scene, the orange juice is like already cleaned up, even though it's supposed to be like one ongoing cut. That was kind of funny, I thought. That wasn't too bad. You know, it was better than like them coming out and cutting a promo in this context. So it was what it was. After that, motherfucks, Sammy Guevara went up against some guy named Shug D. Shug D, motherfuckers. Shug D. As the name would suggest, Shug D, pardon me, is the latest dancing black guy gimmick that TNA, I mean, whatever, AEW is having now. You know what I'm saying? I got the goddamn hiccups. Fuck. I think they're gone. Fucking hate the hiccups. One of the worst things ever. And since we're talking about hiccups real fast, if you ever have the hiccups, take a spoonful of sugar and chew it up, it'll be gone. But I'm too lazy for that, and they're gone now, so fuck that shit. So Sammy Guevara beats this guy with like a feast your eyes, which is Dominic Dijakovic's last move, which makes sense for him because he's a tall motherfucker. Sammy Guevara did it. The match was all right. Nothing special here. Shook D, nothing special, obviously. I mean, like, I don't understand why they had to have this match. Like, and actually, you know what? I'll be honest. Like, at least Shook D has some personality. You know what I mean? Like, why should Shook D, who this is the first time and hopefully last time I ever see him, but why should he lose to Sammy Guevara? You know what I'm saying? Like, Sammy Guevara has no personality either. But it is what it is, motherfucks. That's how they decided to do it. Next up, we had Kip Sabian versus Chuck Taylor in the third of today's completely meaningless matches. You know, like the first match, which was the most meaningful match thus far, involved two velocity jobbers, and then we just went downhill from there all the way up to Kip Sabian versus Chuck Taylor. Like, could you think of anything more meaningless than this? You know, Kip Sabian wins after interference. This will lead absolutely nowhere. This guy has Eric Rowan written all over him. They'll keep him around for a while before he becomes completely irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? So that happened. Then finally, we had the main event. Moxley versus, what's-his-face, Swagger in like a empty arena match, which means absolutely nothing considering the arena was already empty. You know, but I will say one thing about the arena. They had wrestlers out there, and they had people like booing the heels and cheering the faces. And they did it in a way so it sounded like a crowd, right? So it's like the heel would say something heelish and he'd get booed, right? Which I thought was a nice touch, you know? Like, why not do that? It's like kind of cheesy because it's like the same thing as a laugh track almost, except the wrestlers are actually doing it. So there you have it. That was your review for AEW. I did it nice and quick and nice and short because let's be real. This was honestly one of the worst AEW segments and episodes of all time. This may be the worst one. I mean, let's be real, motherfuckers. This was garbage. It was garbage, right? I didn't watch NXT because I forgot to record it this week again. I'm going to set that record so I can watch the other one too. But I did watch the NXT from 2 weeks ago, I think it was, right? Where they finally like re-debuted Dexter Lumis. That one, that show was great. That show was superior by miles to AEW. And I think that's why, I mean, amongst other reasons, but NXT knocked it out of the park. They beat AEW once again, you know? I think they're going to beat them this week too. I mean, I don't know what happened at NXT, but it sure as shit had to have been better than this garbage. Right, so now let's talk about the other hot news of the day, motherfuckers. The other hot news of the day. The WWE releases. Now, let's start out by saying this. Some of the people that have been released, I mean, I don't know, like, how to put it other than just say it like it is. The facts are what they are. Some of these guys deserved to be released. I mean, they deserved it. Let's be real. You know what I mean? Like, some of these people have been pretty much sucking at the teat of WWE for, like, years. Some of them for decades, motherfuckers. For decades, right? Like, you look at someone like Primo and Epico, you know? It's like, come on, man. Like, what the fuck? You know? Primo and Epico have done absolutely nothing. Epico has not drawn $1 for WWE in his entire run. Primo, not much better either, man. Like, he hasn't drawn shit either. Like, he's not good enough, you know? Like, I like Primo and Epico, and to be honest, I did not think they were still in the company. Because if they were, I don't see why you would have to sign Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. You already have two cousins, Primo and Epico, right? Who have the same exact wrestling style as Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. So why not have them do this feud, you know? Do you really have that much faith in Humberto Carrillo that he is that much better than Epico? He's not much better than Epico. He's on the same level. Because Epico, Humberto Carrillo, even Andrade now, and Primo, all these guys, all these motherfuckers fall into that coveted category that the hater has created, which is the mid-card jobber category. You could take Humberto Carrillo and replace him with Cedric Alexander. You could take Cedric Alexander and replace him with Epico. You could take Epico and replace him with Mustafa Ali. You could take Mustafa Ali, replace him with Mansoor. No one would notice that one. You could replace Mansoor with fucking Murphy. No one would care. Nobody cares about any of these guys. None of these guys have ever drawn a dime, right? And it's not because they suck. It's just because they're so generic and boring. You know what I mean? How the fuck, why would I get behind Cedric Alexander or Ricochet when they're the same thing as Buddy Murphy? I'm supposed to hate one but like the other when they behave the exact same way? No thanks, man. Have you not noticed, motherfuckers, who stands out? It's people like Aleister Black that at least have a different look. People like Velveteen Dream who have a gimmick. People like Keith Lee and Brock Lesnar who are big motherfuckers. These are people who stand out. Nobody cares about vanilla jobbers. That's the problem. All these guys are vanilla midget jobbers. None of them are good. And you can also add in like Johnny Gargano, Finn Balor, Tommaso Ciampa, these nothings, these zeros. You know what I'm saying? I am fucking sick, by the way, of Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. They should have been released instead of some of these people that got released today. But like I said, some of the people released, I don't want to say they deserved it because that's fucked up. And these are people that lost their job. So like, I'm not, obviously I'm not happy that this happened. I mean, I feel bad for these guys. Like, they're out of a job. But let's face it, man. Some of these people contributed nothing. Then you have people, I'm going to go down the list now. Then you have people like Drake Maverick, right? Drake Maverick, I mean, I like Drake Maverick, man. Like Rockstar Spud, he was cool in TNA when he was doing the whole thing with EC3. He was cool. One of my favorite moments in modern TNA when like EC3 was like, you're a loser. And then Rockstar Spud's like, I'm not a loser. I'm Rockstar Spud, right? And then he like turned face. And he was like, yeah, I'm not taking your abuse anymore, fucker, right? So that's what happened. T got released too. So I don't like that one bit. I like Drake Maverick. He should have been given an opportunity. I don't know why you'd release Drake Maverick but keep Arya Davari. You know what I'm saying? Or keep, honestly, any one of the cruiserweights when he's obviously like the only interesting one there is. Yeah? Keep him. Get rid of fucking like Jack Gallagher. You know what I'm saying? Why does Jack Gallagher have a match, a job, but this guy doesn't? Or Noam Dar. You know what I'm saying? Who the fuck cares about these guys? Nobody, motherfuckers. Nobody cares. Next up, we have Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. It's been a long time coming for Zack Ryder. This guy has definitely overstayed his welcome from a kayfabe perspective. I will say this, the guy who plays Zack Ryder is legit. This is a legit dude. Like, he's jacked, right? He looks good. He's athletic. He never botches. And he does exactly what the company tells him to do. So I can't really hate on Zack Ryder at all. Kurt Hawkins, on the other hand, I don't like him, I was excited for his return when he was doing the Face the Facts thing. And then all of a sudden, he just became a jobber and lost every match in his entire career until he started winning a little bit with Zack Ryder, right? And it's like, he kind of let himself go. He got a little fatter, you know what I mean? He just started looking a little sloppier. Like, that's the only control you have over your job at WWE is to look good, right? Because you might not get the opportunity. You might not get the opportunity to be showcased on TV, right? Because there aren't enough minutes in any show to showcase everyone that they have to showcase. But if you at least look good, you have a higher chance. For example, take the team of Buddy Murphy and Wesley Blake. Think about that one right there. Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy. When they started wrestling, clearly Wesley Blake was the superior of the two. It was Blake and Murphy, motherfuckers, not Murphy and Blake. But eventually, Buddy Murphy surpassed them. Why? Because while Wesley Blake started gaining weight and becoming basically fat, Buddy Murphy was out there hitting the gym. And he got his push on 205 Live, which led to him going to Raw. And now he's part of like a relatively important stable in a relatively important angle. He put in the work and he got it. Another example, of course, Jinder Mahal. Steroids or not, motherfuckers, I don't give a fuck. Jinder Mahal left, and he was always like a big guy. He left, he came back looking jacked. Then he didn't appear on TV for like a month. And then when he next appeared, he was like a different human being. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the fuck did this guy do to himself? Like, what is he on, like horse steroids? He was incredible, man. Just vascular as a mug, So that's what Kurt Hawkins should have done, in my opinion. Heath Slater, same exact thing, you know what I mean? This guy has overstayed his welcome. Like, him and Zack Ryder have gotten a lot more than they deserve to get. Like, Heath Slater was the first ever SmackDown Tag Team Champion with Rhino, I believe. I could be wrong. I think that's true, right? So it's like, think about that for a second. Think about that. And that whole angle was about him. It wasn't about Rhino. It was about Heath Slater, So if you really consider what's happening here, Heath Slater and Zack Ryder, like on the other hand, won a ladder match at WrestleMania for the IC title. So it's like, come on, these guys have definitely gotten their dues. I mean, I'm not saying that they should have been fired, but it's like, dude, like, you should expect it. You've been around for 15 years, have accomplished virtually nothing on your own until people are like, oh, here you go, you're going to have a title shot now, Next up, we have, this one was a weird one. Gallows and Anderson, motherfuckers. Gallows and Anderson. Now, Gallows and Anderson will forever go down in history as a team that was murdered by Undertaker, just like fucking, what's it called? Just like Muhammad Hassan, He just died at the hands of Undertaker, never to be seen or heard from again. Now, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson are the one team that I think are the most likely to get signed. The entity here most likely to get signed back, you know? Maybe them and maybe Rusev. Like, they're the people that are the most likely to come back to WWE because, like, they're still, like, legit. They look like badasses. You know, like, there's a lot of good things about Gallows and Anderson. Gallows and Anderson are also very likely to go back to New Japan. Well, they will be doing just fine there, no problem. Or perhaps go to AEW. We'll see, motherfuckers. Rusev got released. I gotta say it, man. Rusev is great. I love Rusev. You know, this one sucks for me because I enjoy Rusev. But let's be real. He hasn't been doing anything, you know? Like, he's been doing fucking zero, man. He had this, like, stupid-ass feud with Bobby Lashley, which was, like, good if it served to push Bobby Lashley, who is better than Rusev. But that's not what happened. What happened was Rusev came out there, made an ass out of himself, and for, like, a year and a half, or actually for, like, 2 or 3 years, he's really done nothing. So, like, he's just been collecting a paycheck for doing virtually nothing. So good for him, you know? No way, Jose. This one hurt. This is one of the ones that hurt the most. I gotta be honest about this one. No Way Jose is cool, man. He's a good dude. He's a big guy. He's athletic looking. He's strong looking, right? And he's fun. He's enjoyable. He can be marketed to children. This one, I think they fucked up on this one. No Way Jose deserves better. Also, he is a good jobber. He goes out there and he's a big guy, right? And he can be used to put over so many people. You know, you can take No Way Jose and have him job out to like the next, I don't know, let's say Rey Mysterio, right? You have like Rey Mysterio, like the next Rey Mysterio, and, you know, he beats up, what's it called? No Way Jose. At least he's a big guy, you know? At least he beat up a big guy versus like him beating up Tozawa, right? So there you have it, motherfuckers. No Way Jose, you're out of here, motherfucker. You're out. Then Sarah Logan, who will probably go down in history as the woman to make the least impact in the history of wrestling. I mean, like, her run was like the worst run ever. She did nothing. She accomplished nothing. I saw nothing impressive from her. She didn't look great. She didn't look athletic. There was nothing there that like really sold her to me. I mean, she was supposed to be this like wild child, and she's out there hanging out with Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan, but basically she's just like a jobber, you know? Like, she's like the jobber of a jobber faction. You know, like, it's just a complete waste of time. Like, nobody cares about any of these girls, you know? I remember when they signed Ruby Riott, all the smarts were like, oh my god, they signed a Heidi Lovelace. Like, who gives a fuck? Nobody knows this broad. She's never gonna make it. She's not good enough, dog. And all these people were like, Ruby. Like, all of a sudden they like her. For what? What does she do? She has a stupid finisher and a stupid character, and there's nothing interesting about her whatsoever. Next, we have Mike and Maria Kanellis. This is a very special case. You know, I gotta say like it is. And I'm not here to trivialize drug addiction. That's a serious, serious problem. Some people that I know have died from that shit. Some of my friends have died from that shit. Back in the day, you know what I'm saying? Like, one of my friends in law school, he dropped out of law school and he OD'd on, I think we think it's heroin, right? And he was an awesome guy, one of the best guys ever, man. He was a good person, and he OD'd on it. So, like, I know that, like, it has serious implications, you know what I'm saying? But let's be real, motherfucks. They signed Mike and Maria Kanellis, and they obviously have big plans for them. Just like they have big plans for Gallows and Anderson. How do I know this? Well, I'll tell you, motherfucks. I know this because what happened was they took Mike and Maria Kanellis, and instead of putting them on NXT where they belong, they put them on SmackDown immediately, right? Same thing with Gallows and Anderson. They skipped NXT because they had bigger plans for these guys. Problem is, of course, that once they got signed, Mike Kanellis checks himself into rehab that WWE pays for, right? They did a little documentary on this on WWE.com, and Maria Kanellis gets pregnant. You know, now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with getting pregnant or any of that shit, but let's be real. You know what I'm saying? I got to, what's it called? I had to kind of figure out what's going on with them, right? And the truth of the matter is that even though these are very, very serious situations, one being pregnant and two being addicted to whatever the fuck he was addicted to, the facts are what they are. I mean, at the end of the day, it's something that, like, you can't really control, but the WWE is not going to be happy to worry about. You know what I'm saying? Happy to deal with, I should say. And that's kind of like what it comes down to. It's like, they might be good people, but at the end of the day, they decided to, like, and decided is not the right word, but Maria Kanellis got pregnant, and this guy, he went to rehab, and it was like, yo, wait a second, man. You did all this as soon as we signed you? You know what I mean? Like I'm not making accusations, but it seems convenient. You know what I'm saying? It's like Mike Kanellis could have probably gone to rehab, but he's like, oh, I've signed with WWE. I'll have them pay for it, and I have like a new contract, so like my job is secure. And they're like, yo, like it is secure, but you also have to stand out and produce. And you have not produced, and you have not stood out. So beat it, jabroni, beat it. It's not that kind of industry, motherfucks. And then after that, we have Aiden English. I mean, let's be real. This guy, like, I couldn't even believe he was still employed. Again, I feel bad for everyone that got fired. Come on, I mean, like, Aiden English, like, this guy never looked the part. He was too skinny. He was too pale. He was balding. He's like in his 20s. He was like balding. There was nothing there. I mean, like, I enjoyed him when he was doing the singing gimmick in NXT, but that's about it. Everything else was like useless. Then we have EC3, motherfucks. EC3, who never got a chance. EC3 really got screwed. They obviously had big hopes for this guy on NXT, but it materialized into basically nothing. Let's be real, motherfucks. It's unfortunate. EC3 deserved better. He didn't get it. Maybe he can go back to TNA. Who the fuck knows? It's almost like they just wasted a few years of his life. I mean, they didn't really waste it because they paid him, but you know what I mean. Then Leo Rush. Leo Rush, I mean, I enjoyed him when he was like Bobby Lashley's valet, and I think he's a quick wrestler, so I don't have anything bad to say, about Leo Rush. Maybe he can go to AEW and form a tag team with Darby Allin. I actually would like to see that because they're both very athletic and very fast, and that could be something good. Next up was the one that hurt second most, motherfuckers. Second most. Eric Young, motherfuckers. Eric Young. Eric Young, I mean, I have to be consistent. He's on the same level as everyone else that I mentioned and that he didn't do anything. But Eric Young is by far the best one in this entire list. Like, he is better as a wrestler than everyone here. So for that reason and that reason alone, in my opinion, Eric Young should have been given a chance. Give him one push, and if he doesn't get over, then fire him. But c'est la vie, what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? Next up, we have Primo and Epico Colon, which I mentioned before. These guys should count their lucky stars that for 10 years, they were able to stay in WWE and just get paid and get paid and get paid for doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? They gave these guys several opportunities. They made them Los Matadors. They gave them the Shining Stars gimmick. They gave them a lot of things, man. And these guys just couldn't get over. Like, I don't really want to see a promo about two guys talking about tres leches cake. And I don't know who came up with that, but that person should be fired too. If this was their idea, which I kind of have a feeling it was, because it's like a very Puerto Rico like centric gimmick. It's like, we're from Puerto Rico, great. That's not interesting. How about develop personality? You know what I'm saying? And all these people are like, oh, Carlito should come back and help them. Carlito wasn't that great either, man. He was overrated, motherfuckers. What do you think of that? And then Eric Rowan. If WWE had listened to me or hired me to be their head booker or whatever, their associate booker, their vice booker, motherfuckers, if they had hired me, they would have saved so much money on Eric Rowan. Why? I'll tell you why. Because for months now, motherfuckers, I've been saying this push is going nowhere. Eric Rowan is just taking up TV time and wasting money. And when they revealed what was in the cage, it was all downhill from there, motherfuckers. They said, hey, Eric, beat it. Eric Rowan is going to have some options. He's a big guy. I could see him going to, like, Impact Wrestling, no problem. I could see him, for example, going to AEW and being another person in Dark Order. That would be kind of neat, I suppose. But it is what it is. I'm not really worried about him. He also, I think, has a pretty good chance of coming back. Then we have Deonna Purrazzo. Who the fuck cares about Deonna Purrazzo? No one cares, motherfuckers. No one cares. However, it sucks for her. She ain't got no job no more. Then we have Alexander Yaksic from Germany, motherfuckers. Alexander Yaksic from Germany, who is an NXT guy who's never been on TV. So there you go. This guy, I think he must be a young guy, so he's got a pretty good chance of coming back. This is just for budget cuts, That's all there is to it. Like, when they up their budget again, they'll get this guy. They'll get him back, It is what it is. Next up, we have MJ Jenkins from NXT. Don't know who that is, so I don't care. Josiah Williams, same thing, motherfucks. Don't know who that is. And we also had a bunch of producers that were furloughed, but, I mean, I don't really care about them, to be honest. Like, some of these guys, I didn't know they were with a company. Like Shane Helms, Sean Davari, I didn't know they were with a company. Luckily, Devon didn't get fired, but Kurt Angle did. That's rough. Kurt Angle getting fired is rough, motherfuckers. I don't like that. But I will say this, motherfuckers. I will say this. Hey, my face. I will say it. The worst one, the one that hurt the most for me was Mike Chioda, motherfuckers. Referee Mike Chioda. Mike Chioda is the only person on this list, that includes Kurt Angle, the only person on this list that was in WWE when I started watching. I mean, that's just a shame right there, motherfuckers. The fact that, like, he got, fired after all this time, he got released after all this time, is ridiculous to me. It's like, what the fuck? You had to cut Mike Chioda? The only explanation I can think of is that Mike Chioda is substantially paid more than the other referees. So if the referees are making, let's say, $150K a year, let's just throw that number out there, right? And Mike Chioda is making $250K a year, they're like, all right, like, it's not that he's the worst referee, it's just that, like, we get back the most by letting him go, you know what I mean? That's the idea that we had there. That's the idea, motherfuckers. So, but still, you should make some sacrifices just for PR, so you don't look like an asshole, Mike Chioda, are you kidding me? Like, Mike Chioda's been there for like 30 years, motherfuckers. He's been there for a fucking eternity, and you just fire him? No, that's not cool, man. I don't like that. That's not a good look, as we say in the hood. You know what I'm saying, motherfuckers? But yeah, the question becomes, which one of these people will go to AEW, and how will they be booked? Or I guess TNA, but I doubt they're going to go to TNA. So, in my opinion, the people that should definitely go to AEW, if they can, are Gallows and Anderson. That would really, like, solidify their tag team division, if you think about it. If you get, like, two WWE former tag team champions within, like, a week or two after each other, you're good to go. You could even kind of do Bullet Club again, Kenny Omega and Gallows and Anderson, you know what I'm saying? You could actually do it. So, there you have it, motherfuckers. There you have it. Cooks! There I'm saying, dows. But, the facts are what they are. Those guys should go. Eric Young, of course, should go. And I think Eric Young should go there and, like, feud with big dudes. That's what I think he should do. Like, feud with, like, Lance Archer and fucking Luke Harper and these jabrones, right? So there you have it, motherfuckers. That's about it. Everybody else, I think, is, shouldn't go anywhere. Let's be real. Like, do you really want to see Primo and Epico, like, in AEW? Not really, right? So, like, that's what I'm saying, motherfuckers. And I will say one thing. One thing that AEW needs to do, and they have an opportunity to do so now that they have this new, like, pool of 30 wrestlers they can sign, right? They need to pick someone from WWE, right? One of these guys that's been released, bring them into the company, and put them over people like Dean Ambrose. Because the problem with AEW is that they have pretty much copied and pasted the WWE hierarchy, right? They've moved it up, they've shifted it up because, like, compared to their own wrestlers, WWE guys are much, much better. But they've shifted it up. What needs to happen is this. Like, I was thinking to myself, why do I know already that Dean Ambrose is going to beat Jack Swagger? Why do I know that? I know that because he would beat him in WWE as well. It's the same thing, motherfuckers. It's the same thing. Like, the people that would win in WWE are going to win in AEW. But they need to break that cycle. They need to have someone, I'm not saying go beat Dean Ambrose, but get Eric Young, let's say, right? I think it should be Eric Young. Get Eric Young and have him go after Ty Dillinger, who he helped train or whatever, and beat the shit out of Ty Dillinger. Just beat him up, like, leave him in a pool of his blood, and win, right? We're going with world-class maniac Eric Young, right? Then you have Eric Young beat Goldust, right, to establish him as higher than Goldust. And then you have him beat, like, a mid-level WWE guy. So not Jericho, not Ambrose, but Swagger, right? Like, Eric Young would lose to Swagger probably if they wrestled in WWE. But here you have him beat him, right? And then you take this Eric Young type character and you make him one of your figures, right? Because then you can really sell the idea that WWE held this guy back. If Ty Dillinger came to AEW and beat up, like, Jericho, for example, that's how you make him into a star. You don't just tell me that he was always good and WWE didn't see it, and then he comes to AEW and just loses everything, right? You have him beat people. Jericho, for one thing that he hasn't done, is he has not put over anyone in AEW. If they were wrestling in WWE, Ambrose would come out on top of Jericho virtually at every given point in his career, right? Ambrose, they were high on Ambrose, he would come out on top. So that's the problem. The problem is, like, you just take WWE's hierarchy, you're like, oh, this guy was big in WWE, he's going to be big here too. No, how about have Ambrose come out and have him job to, like, not Sonny Kiss, because it's not a complete joke, but have him job to, like, I don't know, let's say MJF, right? Just have MJF beat up Jericho, beat up like Hager, right? So then the fan is tricked into thinking like, oh, wait a second. Like, all right, these guys, like some of these guys are WWE champions, but they all just lost to this guy who is not a WWE guy. Wow, this guy must be really good, right? That's how you put someone over. You don't put over MJF by having him beat Cody, who is like a lower mid-carder in WWE. You have, like, Cody's the only one that's benefited from this, and Goldust. They're the only ones who are now punching, like, above their weight class. Like, when Cody Rhodes was Stardust, like, people like Jake Hager would beat him in, like, 1 minute in a squash match. People like fucking Eric Young would beat him. All these people would beat him, you know what I'm saying? Luke Harper would destroy him. You know, but now Cody has booked himself as better than these people. You know, and that's the problem. The problem is you only do this with Cody Rhodes and Goldust, and that reeks of nepotism. So those are my opinions on the following day and the AEW episode. So with that being said, motherfucks, as I always say in the end, motherfuckers, always the hater. That's the one you want to keep listening to. And if you haven't subscribed, do yourself a favor and subscribe today. I have forgotten to do the subscriber shoutouts for a while, but we're going to get right on that real soon because at this point, I probably have like 20 subscribers I need to give shoutouts to. So it's going to take a while, but we'll get to it, motherfuckers. Probably most of them aren't going to appear in the subscriber list, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, motherfuckers. But now that I've said that, it's time for the outro. How did it go? Always unfiltered, always uncensored. Go fuck yourself. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing that, but whatever. It is what it is. Kiss.